All right, everyone. California continues its war on common sense. Only government is capable of making pot unprofitable. California found a way to do this. To be clear, state laws with regards to marijuana vary drastically. In some states, it's completely illegal. In fact, you can face a felony charge if you have more than a few grams. In some states, it's effectively decriminalized, so it's more like it's kind of illegal, but you can, if it's just simple possession, the only thing the cops are going to do is they're going to take it and, dump it in the sewer or something like that. They'll break your pipe. That was the way it was in Vermont until it was legalized here. Then you have the more sane states that have legalized it. I support the full legalization of marijuana. But some states have decided to subjugate that to a lot of taxation, a lot of regulation, etc. And so they drive up the price of marijuana that you would get like at a dispensary. Necessarily, this means that a black market forms because there's more demand than there is supply. There are people that can't afford the dispensary prices. You're talking like, fucking $20 a gram or some crazy shit like that. And so then you end up with a black market by people who will requisition a property, they'll retrofit it, they'll grow a shit ton of weed, and then they'll dispense it. They'll sell it on the streets. This also runs the risk of having that weed tainted, like with things like fentanyl or heroin or something like that, cutting the product or making it more addictive. This has happened multiple times. Here in Vermont, we have relatively sane state laws. Up to 2 adult plants per individual in a household. It's unregulated if you're using it yourself. So for personal use, it's unregulated. Now, you can only have a certain amount of cured product on hand before it becomes a misdemeanor. But you can grow those plants and cure them, and you can smoke it, and you can just, go about your day. And so basically, in the state of Vermont, if you choose to grow marijuana, you're getting much, much cheaper weed. You get one of those little cutlings, you put it in the ground, and if you know how to grow things, it'll grow fine, or you grow it in your basement or something, it'll grow fine, and then you have weed. And so you don't need to buy it from a dispensary. See, Vermont has a sane policy with regards to marijuana. It's one of the few sane policies Vermont has. In California, everything must be registered. Everything must be licensed. Every transaction must be taxed. You can't smoke out your friend with your personal weed or something in California without technically committing a misdemeanor offense. This has created a black market. This article, link in the description, archived of course, is basically a bitch piece about unlicensed grow operations. California police in Antioch alone are barging down doors at 6 a.m. and they find a bunch of weed plants. I'm thinking to myself, who gives a fuck? It's weed. Who gives a shit? Most of you have used it. I've used it. Most of the politicians have tried it, at least. Bill Clinton tried it. He swears he didn't inhale. Obama swears that he did inhale because that was the point. I did like that bit of honesty. That was one of the better political quips of modern history. It was also a slap at the Clintons. There's a reason why they don't like each other, by the way. The war on pot is stupid. Just it's weed. It's not a big deal. It's not gonna fuck you up. I've used weed. I'm intellectual enough. I'm capable of hard-hitting political analysis and make 6 figures. And yeah, I've smoked weed in the past. There are plenty of people that have done so. It's like the song Legalize It. Doctors smoke it, lawyers smoke it, and then my dog tokes it, I think, was the other line. I don't think you should give your dog marijuana. I think that's animal abuse. Under statutory law, I think you could get in trouble for that. Although I did feed weed stems, from the shitty brick I was getting down in Florida to a pug dog at one point, and then it fell asleep. Yeah, it was happy. It kept pestering me for the fucking weed, so we just fed it the stems, and it seemed to enjoy it, Didn't get it all fucked up or anything like that, but it had a good nap. By the way, the statute of limitations has run out on that particular crime. Weed is not a problem. It's not a scourge on society. We've been told it's the devil's lettuce. It's evil. It'll send you to hell. It's a gateway to other drugs. You took a toke and 6 months later you're injecting heroin. That's not the way that it works. It's just not, it's not sane. And everyone knows it. Everyone secretly knows that marijuana is not a problem, that there's no issue with it. If you're using marijuana, I mean, unless you are railing it down, you're dabbing or something, unless you're like vaping pure THC or something like that, if you're just smoking bud, there's no problem with this. You've got to regulate yourself like you would with any other drug, and it is a drug, just to be clear, fellow former weed smokers, it is a drug, but it's not a huge problem. It's less inebriating than alcohol. It's less addictive than tobacco. Both of those are legal, again, heavily regulated. Although I believe that now distilling is now allowed due to a Supreme Court decision, if I remember correctly. I think I covered that in a live stream a few weeks ago. Yeah, there was a court decision with regards to alcohol. Yeah, you're allowed to brew your own booze. You just can't sell it. That makes sense. That makes sense for weed, too. If you're growing it for your own consumption, you should be able to grow a whole acre of weed if you want to. Maybe you just get stoned all day. Well, who fucking cares? Who died and made the government king over your property? It's your property. It's your body. It's your body. It's your choice. This is a way to flip the cannons around on the liberals, by the way, that are still aboard with the gun war. Well, you say, my body, my choice with regards to abortion, but why is it not my body, my choice with regards to marijuana? And marijuana can be quite fun. I've always preferred sativa blends myself. I don't understand the war on drugs. I think that people that are genuinely addicted, here's what we should do. Here's a sane drug policy. Get rid of the drug war. No more raids, no more barging down doors, don't waste the resources, don't shoot people, okay? The cops have better things to do, like going after the local kitty fiddler or the local rapist or knife enthusiast who likes to stab people. They've got bigger things to do. I don't want the cops to be in any situation where they may come under fire over what is effectively a non-violent non-crime. I want them to only have to worry about violent offenders, significant offenders. That way they know they can open fire at leisure. That's what should be done. Save the goddamn cops some trouble, number one. Legalize it. Especially marijuana, but other drugs too. Just decriminalize them. Secondly, because you're saving a shit ton of money on that enforcement, you set up a network of addiction treatment facilities. So you encourage people, like, you don't arrest them because they're shooting heroin in the alley. You say, do you need help? We actually give a fuck about you. You want to get clean? You can come to this facility, taxpayer funded. It'll cost the taxpayers half as much. It'll result in far fewer deaths. It'll probably clean up the actual addiction crisis. And meanwhile, Harold the Happy Hippie can smoke his grass, and there's no problem with it. I don't give a fuck if someone grows 100 weed plants in their cornfield. Maybe they just smoke weed all day. Well, I mean, you own a cornfield, so you must be doing pretty well. Who cares? It makes no difference. In fact, the United States, in theory, could fuck over other nations and become a net weed exporter. Instead of having fentanyl-laced weed coming across the southern border, if we deregulated it enough here, we could simply export it. Bales and bales of weed we could smuggle into Europe and places like that. We'll do it through the Netherlands, by the way. Number one, they love trading, and number two, weed's legal there. So we'll just we'll destroy their weed market and overrun it because we've got so much more land. That would be funny, wouldn't it? The U.S. should start playing hardball, in my opinion. Let's ship guns to people. Let's ship weed to people. Yeah, we'll get high on our own supply. We'll also supply you. We've got plenty of land. We've got infinite resources. We've got everything, every possible advantage. Do you realize how much money we could make? Taxpayers would be getting a goddamn rebate at some point. Here's your yearly weed rebate. You know, we sold 10,000 pounds to Uganda, and we sold 10 million pounds to Russia, and we sold, we don't even know how many pounds to China, and we got everyone high. And we made a shit ton of money doing so. And we tariffed it just a little bit, so here's your rebate. And yeah, you made $5,000 this year just existing because weed was being grown and you were participating. That's what we should be doing. We should be industrializing that. Hemp, too. Hemp is a fairly valuable crop. And it's restorative to the soil. It's not particularly draining. So, we can grow hemp. That's legal here as well, although I don't know that there's really an industry for it. In most states, it's banned. And in some states, it's allowed, but it's heavily regulated. You're driving up the price of the product artificially. And the government thinks that it's being real smart by doing so. No, it would be much more smart to have a total free market for these things and let the United States run roughshod over the rest of the world and get it all high. That would be a wonderful time, now wouldn't it? And we'd make a shit ton of money doing so. I guarantee that American farmers, you have all of those fallow fields. The U.S. Department of Agriculture encourages farmers to leave certain fields fallow to not overproduce. Plant them with weed. Just plant weed plants in there. Not hurting anyone. Do you realize how much marijuana we could produce? We could supply the entire goddamn world. We could make trillions of dollars. We're looking a gift horse in the mouth, actually. That's about all. Peace out.